up, and landing 13 left if that's available.
Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Palm Springs Tower, squawk 6250.
6250.
Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Palm Springs altimeters 2985, radar contact about 10 miles west of the Palm Springs VOR. Presently landing runway 31, you're requesting straight in for 13.
If that's available.
Ever departure of Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, make straight in runway 13 left and clear to land. Wind is 0905.
Clear to land, runway 3 left, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, thanks.
Palm Springs clearance, Pilots 4658 is type PC final slam call, request clearance to Vegas S file.
Pilots 4658, Palm Springs clearance. Good afternoon. Unable to give you S file, and I'll be full route down. Pilots 4658 is cleared to Las Vegas Airport via Flight Cathedral 1 departure procedure to Palm Springs, Victor 370 to 29 Palms, Victor 538, Cresso, then Cresso 3 arrival. Maintain 7,000, expect flight level 2405 minutes after departure, departure frequency 126.7, squawk 6316.
Pilots 4658 is cleared to Vegas via Cathedral 1, Palm Springs, Victor 37029, Palms, Victor 538, Cresso 3, initial climb 7 plus expect 025, departure 167, squawk 606 plus switching side.
Pilots 4658, 3 baggage correct. Tango Mike, connect to the ground via Echo and frequency.
Taxiing to the ramp via Echo, remaining on this frequency, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike.
Ontario Tower says the 237 Charlie Alpha approximately 4 miles to the west, inbound to land.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, roger, inner left traffic, left downwind runway 26 left before base.
Enter left downwind 26 left before your base, 237 Charlie Alpha.
Charlie Tower United 242 on the visual for 20 right, returning for right base starting.
United 242 John Wayne Tower, runway 20 right, clear to land, wind 170.3.
Clear to land, to the right to land.
Near 520 Kilo Palomar Tower, runway 24, clear to land, wind 210 at 1. Number 237 Charlie Alpha, runway 26 left, clear to land.
Left base land, 7 Charlie Alpha.
Palm Springs ground, Pilots 4658 is traffic to weather going for taxi.
Pilots 4658, Palm Springs ground, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Trail right via Echo Bravo 465.
Riverside Tower, good morning, November 2903 Alpha with you on the island.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, good afternoon. Runway 900 clear low approach, report miss.
November 2903 Alpha, yes, low approach, runway 9, next week over to
Palm Springs Tower, Pilots 4658 ready to go 3 and right at Bravo.
Pilots 4658, Palm Springs Tower, runway 31 right, clear for data.
Shift takeoff 3 and right, Pilots 465.
Here's our Yankee Kilo Rush, taxi into the ramp via Alpha. Pilots 4658, contact for no departure.
Contact departure 465.
Says the 7 Charlie Alpha is clearly active, taxi to the GA parking base.
Number 7 Charlie Alpha, and on this frequency, taxi into the south ramp via Sierra.
South Ramp via Sierra with you, 7 Charlie Alpha. Thanks.
November 2903 Alpha going around.
Number 03 Alpha, confirm going around or going miss.
November 2903 Alpha going missing.
Number 03 Alpha, roger, execute the published missed approach procedure.
Flying the public mid-approach procedure, November 2903.
Piper 2903 Alpha, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure, 03 Alpha.
Number 03 Alpha, departure frequency 135.4.
135.4 for departure, November 2903.
Ontario Tower, November 516 Delta Mike, inbound RLS 26 left. Or 516 Delta Mike, Ontario Tower. Good afternoon, Ontario. Wind is calm. Runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 6 Delta Mike. Ontario Tower, November 36. Correction, 516 Delta Mike, clear to be active at uniform, taxiing to the south apron.
Number 6 Delta Mike, roger, taxi on south ramp via Sierra. Remain on this frequency.
This year on this frequency, 6 Delta.
Riverside Tower, Riverside routes, November 2903 Alpha, in Alpha request taxi to the transient parking.
Number 2903 Alpha Riverside ground in the future. Don't switch to the ground frequency unless you're told to do so. Should stay with tower, exiting the runway all the way to the whole stroke point. Stay on this frequency for now. Taxi to the ramp via Alpha.
Taxi to West via Alpha. Okay. November 2903 Alpha.
Runway clear. Runway clearance. November 6th. Charlie Mike Cherokee. I would like to attempt to I-4 rating today.
Cherry 76 Charlie Mike John clearance. Good evening. Good luck on the I-4 destination. Will be Kilo Oscar X-ray Romeo.
That's Kilo Oscar X-ray Romeo. 6 Charlie Mike.
Yes, sir. Good luck.
I'm going to sign off and collect some information for this destination. I'll sign back in. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Just report when you're back with the I-4. And how long do you think it'll be? It's not going to be more than an hour, is it?
No. I have to file and get some charts and plates.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll still be here, so it shouldn't be a problem. And we'll look for your flight plan to come through. Which you're nice of.
Las Vegas Tower Plus 4658 visual 1 on the right 4500.
Plus 4658 Las Vegas Tower, runway 19 right, clear to land, wind 1807.
Clear to land 19 right 468.
Plus 658 exit right, taxi into the ramp via hotel, remain on this frequency today.
Exit right, right via hotel, right frequency 58 468.
Ground another 95 for Whiskey Alpha's Piper Comanche EH4/Alpha. Like taxi be active VFR east departure with weather.
Calling Long Beach ground, need you to verify your call sign, please.
Sorry about that. 916 Whiskey Alpha, November 916 Whiskey Alpha.
Comanche 9016 Whiskey Alpha, Long Beach ground, roger. And just confirm VFR eastbound.
Eastbound and east ramp just south of runway
Comanche 9016 Whiskey Alpha, roger, runway 26 right, taxi via Kilo.
25 right via Kilo 916 Whiskey Alpha. Long Beach Tower, November 916 Whiskey Alpha, holding short of 25 right Kilo for departure VFR east.
We're 916 Whiskey Alpha, Long Beach Tower, runway 25 right, clear for takeoff, right down with departure.
Clear for takeoff 25 right, right down with departure 6 Whiskey Alpha. Good day, Palm Springs, ground scanning Hotel Tango. Eastbound, India, close traffic, 31 right.
Papa Hotel Tango tonight, Palm Springs, ground, say again, aircraft type.
Gray Cessna Sky.
Skyline Tango, any might thank you, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Echo and Bravo, 31 right.
We're 791 Juliet, towards ground left.
Okay, Sky 791 we see there's no clearance delivery with this field, so would we get our departure instructions with tower or with ground?
Always go with the lowest, so we'll start with ground. Just say your intentions.
Okay, Sky 791 type Cessna 172 on the south numbers with the numbers requesting VFR departure east to
Number 791 Juliet, roger, departure frequency 134.9er, squawk 2061.
1249 is 2061.
Got 991 Juliet, read back is correct, are you ready to taxi now?
In a couple of minutes, just gotta go and keep some. Sky 791 south numbers.
Sky 791 Juliet, roger, runway 29 right. Taxi via hotel, correction, taxi via Alpha in Juliet.
29 right taxi by Alpha and Juliet, Sky 791. Palm Springs, Tower is calling Papa Hotel Tango. Mike is holding short runway 31 right, Bravo, and ready for departure, close traffic.
Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. So, another day to fly IFR. This time from a untowered field to another untowered field. So in the last stream I practiced, or I guess experienced, my first IFR flight from Palm Springs to John Wayne Airport, which was really fun, hectic and chaotic. and that was I was totally to blame with that, having no flows at all. So this time we're gonna try flying from an untowered field to another, which is a bit different, not that much. And I've also set some IMC weather here, as you can see. Actually, so much of a scattered overcast layer that it actually is becoming dark here at Bermuda Dunes. We're gonna fly from Bermuda Dunes Airport to 29 Palms. It's actually quite a short flight, but I think it's going to be fun. We have a nice departure procedure. I like to plan the GPS approach, so it's going to be cool. And I'm hoping that I can become a little bit more better at managing all of my frequencies and stuff, and also just thinking ahead, right, in terms of navigation. So we'll have to see. OBR, here we are finally. Yeah, thank you for being here. Good to see you. And Stefan, good to see you as well, buddy. Always a pleasure. Digital, hello. And Keith, awesome to see you here, Keith. Hope you're doing well. Some nice pictures there on Twitter, flying and stuff. Very, very cool. So again, here we are at Bermuda Dunes. Got the entire evening to fly, as you can see. Nice Bermuda Dunes, non-towered field. And yeah, this is not real weather. I set my own about 500 feet above the minimum decision altitude at 29 Palms. I'm hoping that that will actually also be the same kind of overcast altitude once we reach 29 Palms. I set the weather here at Bermuda Dunes. I think it's just consistent. I'm not sure. And it's starting at around 3,500 or 3,000. Don't know by heart anymore. Let's have a look. Overcast indeed, starting from 3,500 to 9,000, and well, we're going to fly around 7,000 feet MSL, so we'll be in the soup. Last time we were flying VMC, again, it was my first IFR flight. It was nice just to have a little bit of a visual reference, but obviously we're here trying to fly in the clouds, right? Flying on instruments, so that's what we're going to do. Today I am still going to fly using the GPS, not the autopilot, but the GPS, and obviously that will also be removed at some point, so that I will mostly fly on slant alpha. Not that I could already do that actually today, but there's still, especially because we're going to fly, hopefully we're going to fly that RNAV, we're going to request to fly the RNAV GPS approach. It might be, it's very handy obviously, and very necessary to use the GPS for that, obviously. And also I like the device. It's just cool just to tinker with, and I can be so much more effective using the GPS. So there's still much to learn there, but eventually also I will also really looking forward to doing a flight where I'm not reliant on my GPS at all, and eventually finding some kind of a hybrid use where I just use the GPS for situational awareness, for redundancies, while also setting VORs and stuff. And again, that's also requires me to have a flow going and knowing how to actually update or reset my frequencies and VORs and GPS while I'm flying without losing track of myself, because I'm very good at that. I'll take some notes if I can, Tim. Alrighty. Okay. So the flight for today, I'm hoping that my fourth flight, my iPad, would actually work. Last time somehow Air Server didn't quite work. This is the flight. Again, Bermuda Dunes Airport. That's where we are right now. And there you can see 29 Palms. Really nice airport, the airport where Mrs. Uncertified did her first solo flight, I remember. So again, as you can see, it's about a 30 nautical mile flight. So what I've planned to do, and again this time we're not going to rely on tech routing. So this is also nice, also something that I'd like to study a bit more. I've already been studying this, but well, applying that knowledge, I guess, just devising my own IFR routing. So in this case, my thinking was, well, preferably you like to start, your first initial fix should be a vortex or something that you can fly towards, and ends, if you have a departure procedure, ends at the departure procedure, so you can fly that procedure, and then move on to your end round chunk of your routing, and also brings you to another vortex or a fix that can then be used as a first initial approach fix for your approach into your destination airport. So that's pretty basic, I think. So we're flying to the thermal vortex. We're using the Victor 208 airway, Victor airway to the 29 Palms vortex. Now again, also need to become a little bit more familiar with what I can expect in terms of approach instructions. So I guess there's a chance that we're not even going to fly over 29 Palms vortex, but we're already going to be vector to the final approach fix. But I've been looking at the charts. I will look. Let me already hop to. We got two possible approaches. One is the RNF GPS approach, runway 26, and the other one is the VOR runway 26. Now we got winds actually coming currently at Bermuda Dunes, coming from 140-ish, but winds are calm. But it's still good to know. But I am actually trying or considering just requesting the full approach here because it's nice, and it's particularly nice because if we're going to fly to the 29 Palms vortex here, we then need to join. Where did I read that? I didn't read that at all. Let me see. To Wiser, exactly. So from 29 Palms vortex we need to fly at 6,000 to Wiser, and because we're going to do that, if we're going to do that, we need to do a proper entry for that, using that holding entry to get on track, get aligned with the approach course, which is nice because usually we're coming into, or when we so far as we've been flying or practicing these different types of approaches, usually there's that famous no PT mentioned there, right? And that means no procedure turn, because you're already pretty much aligned with that course and you can just join the approach and there you go. But in this case, if we are going to fly all the way down to the vortex, we should actually do a proper entry. Now in this case it would be a I don't know what the name is actually. We got 3 different types of approach. I had a very nice cheat sheet actually that I made here, but it's out of reach. Can I draw? Yes. So we would come in like this, 29 Palms, vortex, going to turn to Wiser. Now as you can see, quite opposite in the direction, right? So I'm thinking like so, but that doesn't work, because I see the arrow here, right? We got a different kind of no, it's not. It does work. It does work. It does work. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. Yeah, because then we can go around. Yeah, another attempt here, and also a little bit thinner. Let's say 2 points. So we're coming in 6,000 to Wiser. How is this called? Is this a parallel entry? I don't remember anymore. And this is also why I think it's so nice just to keep practicing and refreshing, especially for me as a student IFR pilot. I mean, I've looked at these holding patterns just once. I've practiced those. Parallel, Roger, Keith, thanks. Been practicing those in an isolated manner, and well, it's almost like it goes in one ear and it goes out the other. You just practice those once, but you didn't really integrate those in a full flight, let alone repeated that exercise for a couple of times. So this knowledge already seeped away, so it's good just to remind myself of these things. So we could then do that parallel entry, get going on completing that approach. Now, as you can see already, I guess just depicted looking at the visual, the approach course is not really perfectly aligned with the runway heading, even though it's 265, as you can see. And that's also mentioned here, final approach course, offset 7 degrees. So it's like a... oh, done. Reminds me of an LPV approach, I think. I do see LP here, which actually is something that I'm not familiar with. What we also learned from what I learned from the previous stream is that RNF approaches contrast to what I was expecting or thinking, are still officially, strictly technically, non-precision approaches. Still ILS approaches give you that most precision, that better precision, even though the minimum decision altitude of RNAV approaches with LPV, I'm confusing again different acronyms here. You can actually go quite low with RNAV GPS approaches. But in this sense, in this case, MDA is at 2,940 feet MSL, yeah, with the current weather, we're going to be pretty much into the soup, and then hopefully pop out of the clouds just before we reach the MDA, and then we can do our landing. Exactly, Keith. Do it every now and then, and you won't get rusty. Not better to look properly. Hold. Yes. Yes. That's such a pleasure, Keith, to have you here and commenting already, mentoring. I really appreciate it. RNF LPV is technically non-precision by the letter of the law, but for all intents and purposes, it's flown as a precision. Roger. But what did we experience with last time with John Wayne? There we no, it wasn't John Wayne. It was my RNAV approach into San Luis, and that was also an RNAV approach, but there was only LNAV support. But still, my GPS, my WAS GPS, still gave me lateral and vertical reference or guidance, LNAV plus V support. And even though I could read my glide slope information, I was told that it was just a reference and I should still fly a step down approach rather than relying on my glide slope. And so there are subtleties there that I didn't study before, which actually confused me a bit, but very, 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 very interesting. There, and certainly yields minima that are similar to precision. Roger. Curious to see if he will apply the one inbound and 3 outbound. Stefan. That doesn't ring a bell. It's the wind, the crosswind component, I think. And I think I practiced those holdings with a crosswind. We don't have a really strong crosswind component, if that's what you're referring to. Wind correction, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I've practiced those. Precisely because they can be confusing, crabbing for the wind and staying in the protected area of the hold. But in this case, we don't really have strong winds. I should be mindful of those winds, by the way. So it's going to be fun if we're going to review the, once we're going to review my flight track here and explain to see how well I did or what the effect might be, whether it's significant or not. In any case, always stay in that protected area of the hold, which is, again, this part. Right, the hold is at that area, so we need to stay in that. All right. So yeah, an RNAV GPS approach, runway 26 into 29 palms. So again, MDA 2940 in my previous stream. Even though I don't even know that I looked at the decision height at that time, and I didn't even remember it while I was flying the approach. So again, I should make it a habit to really remember. There are some memory items here that I should memorize and rehearse even before my flight, but especially also as my part of my approach brief while I'm in cruise. So 2940 and yeah, 6000 makes sense. Again, looking at the plan view there. Anything else that we need? Well, we don't expect any fancy how do you call those lights that bring you into the runway in comparison to John Wayne, for example, or Palm Springs, but we do see we can expect to see lights just at the edges there of the runway, which is important because as I'm looking outside now with my overcast, it's actually pretty dark. You can see here Bermuda Dunes has those runway lights at the side, which is quite handy, so that's good to know. Anything else? Well, obviously we got some significant terrain, as you can see here looking at this picture, which is also mentioned here by the MSA, the safety altitude, minimum safety altitude, which is just around the Q6, and that was the missed approach point. Yeah, that's here. So at a circle around 25 nautical miles. Yeah, so if you really get lost in that sense, yeah, you need to be up at 7,100 to generally remain safe, clear of any terrain. I believe it's terrain plus obstacles. I'm not quite sure. In any case, you'll be safe. So that's the most important bit. Anything else? No, yeah, just a simple missed approach. We just go back to Wiser, get back to 6,000. And yeah, and because we're at an untowered airport, you can see here on top, we don't have that many frequencies. No ground, no other stuff. And we need to swap over to CDEF. And also curious to see how that will happen. Because as we're going to arrive there, at some point, even though we're still under IFR, we need to have some kind of clearance by ATC to switch over to CTAF, because there might be VFR traffic there. Now with this my own manual set weather, there should not be any traffic, but in any case in a real world setting we need to switch over still while we are on IFR, switch over to CTAF, like hey, here we are on the RNF approach, translating to 5 nautical miles to the east of the airport at whatever altitude, and we're coming in. And we're coming in, and then we land, and once we are at the ground, or whether we are in VMC and not doing intensive concentration, we can then close our IFR flight plan. So there are subtle differences when flying towards an untowered field as your destination airport, or from an untowered field to another. This is really, really interesting. It's really nice that this can be practiced as part of PilotEdge as well. It's really cool. That would be only but that's a manufacturer-specific thing. Absolutely, in that case, you need to fly it as a non-precision. Yeah, exactly. That's what I not did in my previous stream, Keith. So there I was just flying the glide slope, and that was not good, as I was told, and told again. So that was really interesting. If you fly the generated glider and you fly to do a GA, not a yes. Whereas LV's flying? Yes. Steve and Papi. No, not the Papi, Steve. The Papi are the lights that are here near the runway in a lateral way. I mean those lights that can be in front here of the runway that just like, I don't know the English way to put it, but lights that just like guide you in, right? That's that kind of thing. And I don't know what those are called, but they are also depicted in the on the approach plates, and that was the one that I was referring to. The approach lighting system. MALS area. That does ring a bell. Don't know what those stand for. I don't know even if it's even important to know that, but indeed. Runway lead-in lights. That makes sense. Stefan, that's a -3 inbound and a +9 outbound. Curious to see if you'll overshoot the inbound radial by not correcting with this light wind. Yeah, Stefan, well, we're going to see. We're going to see. I thought it was a ×2 wind correction rule. So you come in that inbound. I mean, we have all the time. Who cares? Let me refresh my crosswind correction holding pattern stuff. You guys most likely know much more than I do. So just imagine we're coming from this direction, and we're already established on a radial. In this case, these are just GPS reference points, but in any case, we might already be crabbed a bit into the wind to stay on that 265 degree ground track. And so if that would be 5 degrees, yeah, it does matter what direction, obviously, whether we are crabbed to the right or crabbed to the left. I think I remembered or read somewhere that you need to double that number for the outbound leg. So for example, if the wind is coming from this direction, so we're crabbed 5 degrees to this side, if it's still readable, then obviously we need to fly a bit towards this direction. Even though we're not really flying the racetrack that is published here on the track, because obviously we're getting pushed to this side, right? So we're flying like this, but once we make that inbound turn, we got a tailwind, and so this turn is going to be much bigger and wider because of that tailwind that we have. So to compensate for that, you need to incorporate that wind correction, and then your racetrack becomes a little bit distorted, but actually pretty well adjusted to that general wind direction pushing you away. And you don't want to go into this unprotected area of the hold. So that's what that WCA is all about, and therefore it's important. But in our case here, and we do have some time to figure out that crosswind component because we're flying from. If we're going to fly, I'm going to request default approach. It's going to be fun, right? Let's just practice this. Again, that's the advantage of using a simulator. To 29 palms, the Vortec, when we're flying this direction, we're going to fly all the way down here and then make that parallel entry. And now, if we're going to make it a little bit more tight and we're early on that inbound leg, we have some time to figure out what our crosswind is. Obviously, we also have a GPS where we can pretty much see what we're doing all the time, but still, that might be a chance for us. In this case, it could also be a Vortec where you would be flying a published hold, and you can just use the same thing. Stefan is right. It's 3 times. Okay, it's 3 times. I need to look that up. Just remember that. I think I used 2 times, but it comes in for the 2 and then the wind effect. Roger. Ah, yes, also that first turn. Yeah, that's... thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Ground school, 24/7. It's really, really awesome. So much to learn. Also, not only new things to learn, but just to refresh in terms of that knowledge. I can really picture IFR student pilots doing this stuff, prepping for the test, and first off, have no real experience of what all of that knowledge means in a actual action-driven scenario setting, like really flying that. There's so much out there, possible scenarios. And again, I think that flight simulation there can play a wonderful role to really give you that experience. But that experience then also, just on itself, will make you remember that stuff much better than when you're just reading kind of like fictitious or virtual scenarios. And obviously repeating that, rehearsing, doing these holds or whatever it is many times over to really drill and practice that stuff, and not paying for any fuel or your airplane, which is really, really great. Okay, so anyways, I was talking about the approach, which is nice, but we also have a departure procedure, which is nice. Let's go to Bermuda Dunes. The Bermuda 1 departure, obstacle departure. Actually, also have been practicing this one as part of our training a while ago. This is really nice. Again, winds are calm, coming from 140-ish. So that would actually favor runway 10, which I never use here in Bermuda Dunes, and the winds are calm. I don't think even in the airport facility directory there might be a winds calm runway. I'm not quite sure. In any case, it might be fun just to fly the 10, because also the AI traffic here on Bermuda Dunes makes use of 10, and I've never departed from 10 here on PilotEdge, I think, so that might be interesting. So we would be flying this particular piece of that departure procedure. Not that difficult at all. Always looking at the text, which I think actually many times is much more clear than the actual graphical representation of what we need to do. Climb, right turn heading. So again, I think that the rule here is once you reach 400 feet AGL, then initiate that first turn. Same goes with ATC instructions when they assign you to a particular heading when you're talking to clearance or something. So 400 feet AGL, then climb right turn heading 150 to intercept, the thermal 304 radial inbound, and we need to get up. Or, and this is also interesting, or obtain ATC approval for VCOA. And that was visual climb over airport, something like that, which means that you can also, if you request it and you get approved by ATC to do this, take off of Bermuda, circle all the way up above the airport to your cruising altitude, or some altitude I guess, and then continue your flight. I believe that's something, Clearance climate visual conditions to cross Bermuda Dunes. Yeah, you can see at 2600 and then continue. So not to your cruising altitude, but to 2600 and then follow that. Very interesting. It's an interesting departure procedure. I'll supply if wind angle is between 0 wind speed seconds. I believe you right away, Stefan. Okay, thence continue climbing at the bottom. in the thermal vortex holding pattern to cross vortex at or above the MEA or MCA for route of flight. Interesting. So again, we're flying this particular ground trick. So like this, blip, and we need to get to the MEA. What's our MEA? Well, looking at this particular route, and again, this is what I'm going to file. Let's see if we're also going to fly it. Also, I'd like to have a pencil here for this map as well. Would be wonderful to draw on these maps. And I already contacted 4Flight and they said good idea, but after a year, apparently it's not that much of a good idea because it's not implemented here. Here you can see it's 7,000. That's the MEA, at least for this Victor airway. You can see there are differences. And what's interesting, also for this particular flight, you can see this flag with an X on it. Minimum crossing altitude. Which is associated with this particular vortex. So here you can see thermal, and there you see MCA. Victor 64 and Victor 432. Now let's see if I can remember this. And this means that if we are flying on the Victor 64 airway, which you can see already here, and here, going westbound at 7,700, no, westbound, so that means, yeah, so this direction, so coming from the east, going to the west, we need to cross thermal at least 7,700. If I believe that that's correct. And if we're coming from Victor 432, which is, yeah, I think that's that one. And we're going to the northeast, so that direction. Yeah, my air server is not that, the refresh rate is not that quick, not that great. Then we need to cross it at 4,500. Yeah, and that makes sense knowing a bit of the Palm Springs area, because here to the east of Palm Springs Airport there's a giant mountain. Right, you can see the MEA here is at 10,500. And this first chunk at 9,700. So yeah, the guys like you and yourself like to be up as much possible there before you're going to continue that that lag beyond the thermal vortex. Hey Steeler, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. So that's interesting. So that means that once we're flying the departure procedure, we need to go up at a minimum altitude of 7,000. Again, this minimum crossing altitude therefore does not apply to us. We're not flying on these Victor airways. We're going up north, but the MEA obviously does matter. So 7,000 is also going to be our cruising altitude. We don't need to go any higher because it's a short, relatively short flight. There is some terrain. Can I also use the ruler? Yes, some terrain here that we're going to cross over. So 7,000 is fine. And it could be that ADC, while we are on the departure procedure, must say, well, Tim, just go ahead to cones or just go direct to the 29 Palms vortex. I don't know what's going to happen. In any case, 7,000 is something to remember. What's also interesting is, and doesn't apply to us for this flight, but we are going to familiarize ourselves with this stuff, is the changeover point. If you can see it here, this, yeah, how do you say that in English? That symbol of the different hooks. And that's an important symbol, particularly when you're flying slant alpha or non-GPS. That's the point where you need to change over frequencies from the vortex radio fix associated with that Victor airway. So in this case, once we're leaving thermal and we're going to fly towards 29 Palms, once we hit cloud, which corresponds to 20 nautical miles away from thermal, or 15 nautical miles here from 29 Palms, we need to switch over to get good reception. Which is interesting. There's also a published hold there, as you can see, at cloud. I'm not going to expect that we need to that we're going to use that. So looking at the en route map, I think we have all stuff that is actually yeah, most important. Also, 29 Palms itself has a minimum crossing altitude, but we're going to leave the highway there and we're going to drop down to 29 Palms. Most likely we will not be at 7,000. Well, I don't know. If you look at that approach plate here at 29 palms, the GPS 26 approach, we're going to reach 29 palms Vortec at 6,000, or we need to fly at 6,000 or at least 6,000 to get to Wiser. So 7,000 is not that far off in that way. In any case, we'll have to see what's going to happen. Yeah, I think that was a good brief. Let me see if you guys have any comments. Hey Logical, hey man, whatever happened to your Cessna 172? Well, Logical, I think you're referring to the build of my 172? The 172 that we are building? Well, that's still a project that's definitely going to continue. But first, I'd like to finish my IFR flights. I don't have that much time in the week just to stream, and I'm really into IFR flying. So that's what I'm going to complete first. Very soon we're going to start with the I ratings as well. And after that I will do other kinds of video edited stuff, other kind of content that I like to create for Flight Sim. And in parallel continue the build of the 172 with Blender and all that stuff, which is really, really great. Working on the VC. Oh, cool, Logical. Well, let me know. If you have some pics to share, pictures, I'm interested. Let me know. Okay, so that's the en route chunk. Anything? No, I don't think so. This is just a good brief, I think. And again, we also looked at the departure procedure, which was basic. So yeah, I think that's about it. We also have as an alternative, we don't know what the reason would be, but ATC could also say, well, you have to fly the VOR approach today. Or we could have a GPS failure, and we need to rely on slant alpha style approach, right? So it's always good to have all the charts available here in your forflight. And again, that's also an example of cockpit management in a way, right? So get all the charts ready so you can quickly grab them, especially in case of an emergency where you need to do multiple things, I guess, at the same time. Have all of that stuff handy. So we can have a quick look at the VOR runway 26 approach. Not going to expect that we're going to fly this one. We're already familiar with VOR approaches, so it's actually quite basic. In any case, here we also need to do a holding entry if we're coming from the south here. And we're going to hit 29 palms Vortec. Immediately going to do that particular published hold. Yeah, again, I really need to refresh my memory of the different holding entries. That's also a tag. So you got the hold, or the parallel entry, but you also have the teardrop entry. Also direct entry, but you've got the parallel and the teardrop. Oh yeah, it's coming from the other. Yeah, so this would also still be a parallel, I guess. Yeah. Again, ground school stuff. But yeah, and then we're going to do a step down departure. What's interesting here is that if you look at the step down, there's only pretty much one step down from the final approach fix. So at 4,600, well, not including the 4,900, we're going to drop down. We're not going to fly that particular glide slope here because we don't have a glide slope. So in any case here, we would just drop down to our minimum decision height, straight into 6. That would be 3,500. It's much higher. Makes sense. Then the RNAV approach that we were looking at, and we're going to fly to that first missed approach point, 8.3 nautical miles away from 29 palms, and then we go up. Yeah. Again, not going to expect that we're going to fly this, but it's always good to be a bit familiar. Again, looking at the winds, we already talked about that 140. I'm not going to go through all the different weather charts, even though they're pretty. And is there anything else? No, I don't think so. I'm really curious to see what the procedures are like. So when contacting ADC and clearance, we get void times. Also, once we reach 29 palms here, it's going to be quick. We need to grab the weather already. So this is good. This is good. It's going to be exciting. Thanks for the host, Steeler. Appreciate it. There's also a dog leg at the final approach fix. That's a bit cruel as you're just coming out of the hold. Didn't catch that. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's indeed. So the inbound leg here of the hold is not actually the, well, yeah, it's actually not the approach course. So there's a little bit of an angle there. Yeah, That's a nice detail. And obviously here we got the MOA there at the north. And that's also why that right turn here needs to be short to 5,900 and back to 29 palms. Needs to be tight. I'm done with this. I love this ground schooling and just rehearsing. Also good for my own memory and learning stuff and also knowing what I don't know. Spot my knowledge gaps. In any case, back to my departure here. Good. We got our map here. That's good. We got our scratch pad. That's good. Okay, awesome. Let's head back to our nice little cockpit. Again, it's so dark with that overcast. It's just in the midst of, just in the afternoon here. Not going to do the walk around. So just a quick start. I just see that my chair needs to be a bit more to the right. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, PilotEdge is already on. Well, okie doke. So let me just flight brief. Let me just check. Route alternate. Yeah, we should have looked at an alternate actually, which is not that much of a biggie, especially now for such a short flight. I would say Palm Springs would be a good alternate. Also, in case of an emergency, you're not obliged. It's not mandatory to actually fly that particular alternate. It's just that the FAA, I guess, and yourself as well, you like to be prepared and have some kind of a planned diversion in case shit hits the fan. So in any case, we can pick any kind of other airport. In this case, there are not many, so it seems quite obvious to pick Palm Springs. So yeah, it's going to be Palm Springs. Airspace, already looked at that. Terrain, clear, weather, cruise altitude 7,000 is the MEA. Fuel, that's not a problem. Weight limit is not a problem. Airports is also not a problem. Runway length with a 172 is also not a problem. And frequencies we're going to put in, and PilotEdge is connected, I think, and we can submit our flight plan. PilotEdge. Again, hoping that this works. Last time we put this in, and our flight plan was actually empty, Joe said. And I think it had to do with copy-pasting. I'm copying my route at my Mac computer into a notepad, and then that syncs via Dropbox to my Windows computer here, and there seems to be some formatting error. So I think that formatting error was also pasted into the PilotEdge receiver here, and that messed it up. I'm not sure. Let me see. With the Peter cover, I have no walk around. Please remove the Peter cover and I have no walk around. Hey Josh, good to see you. Yeah, I do love the walk around as well, but just for time's sake, and I'm spending so much time on the briefing. So let's just get flying. I'm really curious. Okay, so what are we going to plan? Well, we're slant golf. That's correct. We're now at Bermuda, Dunes. I'm going to go to 29 palms. The routing, so let me just type this in. So let me show you guys this, which is also interesting. Again, I'd like to do a more edited video actually about IFR flight planning and consideration. I was really spent a lot of time grabbing different chunks of information and considerations and principles of how to devise a full flight plan. It was actually took a lot more time than I thought actually. There's a lot of information about approaches and departures and stuff, but just thinking about how to do a flight plan, it was actually more difficult. So quite interesting to synthesize all of that information in one video as best as I can, and I'll probably miss some stuff, but as a starting point. In any case, so we're going to fly the departure procedure. We're not going to put in DP and then a runway because, as you can see on top, it actually has a name, I think. So we're going to put that in here. Bermuda Dunes 1 departure. Now, something that is a bit weird to me is that I thought that waypoint right to that dot, so the second Bermuda Dunes here, the CUD, would actually be the kind of like the transition, so the waypoint that you're flying towards. So I would expect that this particular thing would actually be called the CUD 1.TRM, the thermal transition. But I guess I don't understand how this stuff works. In any case, this is how it is called, so that's what I'm going to put in. Yeah. Then if we look at the map, so that brings us to the thermal vortex. Then we're going to fly the Victor Airway, which was, well, I think we can pick anything. We can pick Victor 208 or Victor 514. Please, guys, let me know. Just learning here, 208. And that includes that Victor 208, all of the waypoints are in between the previous point and the flight plan and the last one, right? So I don't need to put in cones, for example, because it's part of that Victor Airway. So then our exit point from that airway, and that would be 29 Palms already. It's a very short flight. So I would put in here T and P. I think because the departure procedure here does not, there's an interesting point. So my thinking is, hey, shouldn't I put in thermal here? Because it's not mentioned here, even though it's part of the departure procedure. Again, that makes the confusion. And I would say, well, because it's not in the name, I should actually put it in. But it is part of the actual procedure. What do you guys think? Wheelman fly IFR partial panel. Yeah, Toto, that's true. That's also something that we're going to... I've been looking... This was all interesting, by the way. And so in the previous stream I had, if you guys have seen it, I really made myself quite difficult to manage my flight. We didn't have to do that much. I mean, it was a pretty basic flight, actually, from Palm Springs to John Wayne. I filed a more newer tech route that wasn't actually in the PilotEdge system. So that amended my full flight plan, and we need to change all that stuff, which was not a big deal. But during the flight, I had no systematic flow, no method, and I was all over the place. I was just responsive, and then when I was focused on my GPS, I forgot my altitude, and then I was focusing on my altitude, and I forgot something else. So I've been looking into ways to practice that. Also, what is a proper systematic flow of well, not really cockpit management, but navigation management or thinking ahead management, like what's up next. And there are some acronyms, and I again bumped into that wonderful video by Jason Miller a while ago on the Flight Chops channel, actually, where he shared a where he took Flight Chops with him on a few IFR flights. Well, actually, Flight Chops was doing a couple of IFR training, introductory flights or some initial flights, and Jason, he's just such a wonderful instructor, my gosh. And he was very, very clearly telling him about his mental schemas of how to stay ahead of the airplane and how important that is and what kind of flow he uses. But I found on the internet also some other flow, so I'm now trying to synthesize again that stuff, so for me to make sense of what I need to do. And the acronym that I came up with so far, and I need to optimize that, is MASTER. So the M stands for, the first is maintain. So the first thing is obviously fly the airplane. So whether you're in a climb or at cruise, or stable flight, or descent, you need to stabilize that phase or stage of the flight. Right? You need to trim, you need to check your heading indicator with your compass, engines. Just a very quick flow, maintain, stabilize, right? Maintain. Then the A stands for anticipate. So what's the next point that I'm going to? Which is not just remembering the name of the fix, but also once I hit that point, what do I need to do in terms of flying, heading, and altitude? Do I need to descend or turn or whatever? Then the S, master. S, I think should then be speak. Do I need to tell ATC about what I'm doing, or does ATC is waiting for me to say something? Or when I'm flying VFR, do I need to speak up and say, hey tower, here I am? The T stands for tuning, navigation radios, but also OBSs and stuff. And that's the first chunk that you actually do with each and every stage, whether when you enter a climb, do master, but then the MAST, that first chunk, to get that going, and so you're a bit ahead of the airplane and you can focus, right? Or when you're going to the descent, or when you enter into cruise, you do those first 4 things. And the last 2 letters, master, the E and the R, have to do which is kind of nice. This is something that I borrowed from from Jason. Once you buy yourself time during your IFR flight, where you know what the airplane is doing, you know what you're going to do next, you tuned your stuff, then you have some time to think about the bigger picture of your IFR and think about the approach. I mean, and that was quite interesting actually. The IFR flight, in a way, he put it quite well, as he always does, that the IFR flight is kind of like a funnel in a way in terms of intensity, right? You have a flight plan, departure procedure can also be quite tense, by the way, but generally though the heat is really at the end of the flight, where suddenly you're just relaxing. You're, especially when you're flying on the autopilot, just making basic en route changes, headings, perhaps an altitude, and then suddenly you hit that approach phase and da 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 da. You need to do a lot of stuff, so you need to rehearse that and prepare that. So the first thing, that's the E, at least by my book currently, would be extract. You need to have some information and memorize it. ATIS frequency, altimeter setting. As soon as you're cleared for the approach, you need to have the altimeter already and set it in. And other stuff, and then the R stands for rehearse. You really need to remember some stuff and really get familiar with what you need to do. Also the missed approach, need to memorize that stuff. So at multiple points during your flight, when you have bought yourself time to think about the bigger picture, you extract information, get the ATIS, and rehearse. And that makes sense. It incorporates many of the guidelines and tips that I found online. It's not perfect, and I didn't practice it up to now at all. But I'm working on such a way to really mentally know. The advice that I got from most of you while watching the stream was actually, Tim, you need to fly IFR more. Just fly more, and it will get natural. I didn't really buy that. I mean, you could easily develop wrong habits. So I'd rather just think about it a bit. And obviously experience is important, but it's good to think about this stuff, I think. Oh gosh, interesting point. Don't know the answer. The automated systems aren't going to be smart enough to know that the DP ends at thermal. Yeah, given that it's not in the filing code. Okay, usually put the DP. So it wouldn't hurt to include thermal on the basis. Roger, because this is an ODP, you don't technically need to file it. Okay. Yes, that's true. It's true. Yeah. You could just make thermal your first waypoint. Yes, in that case. So I'm going to mention it. Let's see what happens. That would still legally allow you to fly the ODP. Yes. But I should mention it either. Don't I, Keith? If I don't mention the ODP in my flight plan, shouldn't the departure controller or ATC, should they know that I'm actually flying the ODP, or is that totally my own choice? Would I then mention that on the radio when I get my clearance, say, hey, I'm going to fly the ODP, guys, or should I just keep that to myself? Still legally allowed to fly the ODP? Yes. Which is TRM, so I would have started with TRM. Also mentioned with so-called departure that you're looking to fly the ODP, so there everything is clear from both sides. But yes, I use rod material. Yeah, I need to look that as well. Look up that as well, Keith. The rod material. I know you've been you're a big fan of rod, and I looked at some YouTube videos. He has a particular style of doing things. He also showed up in one of the videos of King Schools. But Jason Miller is interesting. I would love to have meet him at Flight Sim Expo. It's really interesting. Also, a good resource that I just recently found is his podcast. He mentioned those a couple of times in his videos, like, hey, I'm doing podcasts. And I thought, okay, I'm just interested in the videos. But I just looked at those. There are many, many podcasts, and they cover good stuff. They really cover good stuff. So Jason Miller, if you're interested, serious about flying, check it out. Keith, this master list is already sounding very long. Yes, Tim, when we flew together, you might have noticed that the transition to approach phase wasn't so crazy because we already got everything. Yes, that's the whole idea. Yeah, if at any given time you're scrambling for 4 pieces of information at once, it's likely that you hadn't prepared properly. At any given time, you shouldn't be particularly busy. They don't really care how you get to TRM. However, given that you might hold a TRM, I'd certainly mention it. Yes, Stefan is right. Verbal coordination is not a bad idea. Roger. But in himself. Yep. Jason is thinking about getting into streaming based on the discussion we had. Well, wonderful, Keith. Good. Yeah, I saw Flight Chops also mention something like that on the because he was getting into He was actually mentioning your name in his lecture, like saying, "Hey, I actually can use PilotEdge to get back into IFR," which just makes total sense. And I also loved. Okay, again, guys, go to YouTube and look that stuff up. The lecture of Jason Miller and Flight Jobs. Jason there also talks about flight simming, and yeah, so he basically says, well, particularly in preparation for your real-world flight training, use flight simming for procedural knowledge, right? Rehearse procedures. That's what the flight sim is good for. But don't mess around with whether it's flying realistic or not, because it isn't flying realistic, and just get into the real world and fly. But procedurally, though, it's a great training aid, and that was really wonderful to see. Okay. So I'm taking so much time here, but I really love this stuff. Okay. So the map, departure procedure, we're totally done. We're filing a flight plan. That's what we're doing. I'm mentioning the ODP, but good to know now what the ideas are. Thermal, I'm going to mention that as well for you. And 229 palms. Yeah, and the approach is not included because depending on the wind or whatever, that's something that the ATC will assign us. Altitude is going to be 7,000. That's our MEA. 1,000 true airspeed. Let's make it. And again, this is more important than I initially thought. I mentioned it in the previous stream as well. You should actually be, at least for our airspeeds, for small GA aircraft like a 172, 10 knots, within 10 knots of that speed, plus or minus. And it makes a difference. If you're structurally just on average more than or less than 10 knots, or 10 knots away from that that filed true airspeed, you actually need to inform ATC about that in terms of coordination and scheduling. Alternate 115. That's going to be KPSP. Remarks. Do we have any remarks? Well, here you can mention the DP, obviously, but we already filed that. We fly with our own weather. We can mention that as well, obviously. I don't want to get a visual approach, but we can just mention that. Is there any other reason why we should mention this here? Custom weather. En route hours. Why is there a... Okay, so perhaps that is weird. Caused that issue. A bit weird why there's a... other symbol there. En route, I don't really care. No, this is the flight, right? I should care. Around... No, am I saying that right? Yeah. 32 minutes. 35. Not hours, Tim. 35 hours we're going to fly, guys. And this one, I don't really care about that much. Okay, so 172 Gulf, Bermuda Dunes, 29 Palms. Yeah, we're going to include that. Thermal, 7,105 Palm Springs, custom weather. Yeah, 35 minutes. That's good. File IFR. There we go. Dated viewpoint. Yeah, I think so as well, Keith. I disagree on that one. I fly the same pretty much identically to the airplane. Yes, landing, takeoff, climate level. Yeah, interesting. Again, I would love to have a chat with Jason there. Really, really cool. He's so... Also, I like his... I mean, I'm an educational scientist, so I'm particularly interested in anything that has to do with training and education. That my PhD is about that. So I'm really academically interested in that stuff. And there are so many subtle things that I see looking at Jason's videos that he's doing so well that goes beyond just describing things clearly, right? Being a good instructor goes far beyond that. It's really, really inspirational to see. Oh, man. We just have hangar talk streams where we just talk and don't fly. Yeah. Okay. Again, cold and dark. What's pretty dark? Parking brakes, are we set? Yes, we are set. Blah, 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 blah. Door closed. Window closed. DLT is set to auto. Flap lever is up and our flaps are up. My trim, or my mixture and my throttle is working. My trim is set. Fuel tank set to both. This in. Avionics are off. So for the beacon, off, and my Cytec panel works as well. Wonderful. To the right, that one goes down. That one should go up. That one goes down, and that one should go up. Elevators work as well. My trim wheel or tab is active and my rudders as well. Good. Then my batteries. There we go. Looks good. Yeah, fuel's also good. Transponders off 1200. That's good. Flips down. They go down. They go down in sync. That's good. Yeah, I removed the my Reality XP GNS 530 here. I was messing around. Good news, semi-good news. Mini-Webs, that we all know, our dear Flight Simulator friend, has managed to build, I also tweeted it out, so I guess many of you already know, a edited version of the default 172 airplane in X-Plane, where the 530 is removed. And we only have the 430 and some old Slant Alpha radio stacks here. That's really cool. Unfortunately though, his current version is not compatible with Reality Extension Pack, so we need to collaborate a bit and ask sim coders if they can please do an adjustment there, or help us to or help Mini-Webs to make that version workable. But it's cool to have a 430 only version of the 172. Okay, so just looking at the systems on this that's good. This looks good. Again, this is a bug. Small bug. What's the airport elevation here? That's 73. Something like this. This is good as well. 32 degrees. I don't really mind. And we're drawing power. Yes. Then I'm obviously interested now in. Let me see. Walk around, the everything flaps. We'll check that. Controls, yes. Then we skip the external walk around, seat belts, cabin doors. Passenger briefing already did. Avionics ATIS, exactly. Do we have an AWAS here? I guess not. So let's look at the 118.25. 118.25. Again, this is also interesting. We don't have AWAS or ASOS here at Bermuda Dunes because apparently there isn't any. But with VFR flying, we obviously tune into the do a local. We could sign into a local. Sign into or listen to the ATIS of a nearby airport, local airport like Palm Springs International Airport. But in case when we contact approach or the departure here, we don't need to give him that information because obviously it's not associated with this particular airport. So it's just for our own reference, I guess. Yeah.
Palm Springs INTL information Papa. 2200 Zulu weather. Wind 130 at 8.
Yeah.
Visibility more than 10.
Oh,
Sky
it's a bit stronger than it was.
100 overcast. Temperature 31. Dew point 23. Altimeter 2983.
Yeah, that's
arriving runways 13 right, 13 left.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that anymore. That's good. What I am interested in is also the 29 Palms. Do we have an ASOS on 29 Palms? 29 Palms. No, we don't. Okay, so I guess that follows the same kind of rule. We set our own weather here. But that's interesting because there are instrument approaches into 29 Palms. The airport doesn't have AWAS or ASOS, or, well, we do have an airport here nearby. But again, how can you determine the minimum decision altitude? Well, obviously, but just by flying it and seeing it, so it's always a guess. Always is a guess, but you just call up the airport. There's no one there, I guess. Just to saying, well, what's the weather there? Actually, very terminally locally. So, yeah, it's not really... perhaps that's also the reason why, if you look at the approach plate, actually, of 29 Palms, you cannot use it as a alternate. looking at that triangle, black triangle with an A, and then so we got alternate IFR minimums, but also non-available. It's not something that we can use as an alternate. Perhaps before that, because of that reason. Use Palm Springs and altimeter sending when not received. Yeah, but it's just the altimeter sending here, so that has nothing to do with the actual seedings or stuff. Obviously, because Palm Springs is quite far away, relatively, also in terms of terrain and stuff. Okay, interesting. Interesting. And these are subtle things that obviously you don't read about, but you just gain by experience. Yes, meanwhile, again, if this was the real world, I'm just draining my batteries full on. Scratch pad. No, I do need to look at my... Because I'm interested in departure. LA Center. Okay, 135.27. And again, why is my GPS now... It happened to me each and every time. That's really, really weird. Yeah, I will fix that. Somehow, I checked this even before stream, and my GPS window was not in my lovely real sim gear. Boom. Yeah. But now it is. Enter, we do the self-test. Looks so good. There's Scud. Crew. There we go. Okay, so here we are. We have not really the local radio at this airport. Altimeter sending, well, we checked that the altimeter is actually good, and we can actually request our flights. So IFR to 29 Palms. Again, we're gonna get void times and stuff. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. Yeah. Want to see my coverage so far and can post links? I think you can, Logical. I'm not quite sure. If not, just post me or go to the Discord perhaps and post it there. I'm very curious to see. And also your progress. So I get the Discord is the best place just to get in reach. Yeah. And this was 1.3. Yeah, I need to have the frequency. My gosh, I'm still so all over the place. 135. Could have also swapped by 2.7. 275. 135.275, and we're talking with LA Center. Swap. Okay, we should be able to actually hear others. Again, double check that my PilotEdge is still on. Yeah. And you see that we can already set 1 to 2.8. Okay. What's the Discord? Yeah, I should actually make that an exclaimer Discord function there. I didn't do that. If you look at my information pane here on my Twitch panel, on my Twitch page profile panel, you can see there's an information box there somewhere telling about Discord, and there's a link that you can follow. That's the way to do it. Or if you're looking at this, watching this video on YouTube, just go into the comment box and you'll find, or the video description, you can find a link there as well. 135.275. Okay. Again, I'm not hearing anyone. Double check that my COM1 is on. It is. It's a bit weird why we don't hear anyone actually. Yeah. This is LA Center, right? Yeah. Yeah, so what we're going to say, LA Center, Bermuda Dunes.
So 1632, contact departure 127.4.
Bermuda Dunes, yeah, we don't have any local weather here, so just IFR to 29 Palms. Interesting. Okay.
So 1632, SoCal departure, good morning. Flighting 080 when I proceed direct thermal. Climb
Thanks, Logical.
17,000.
Los Angeles Center, good day. Skyhawk, Papa Hotel Tango Mike is at Bermuda Dunes Airport. Like to pick up our IFR to 29 Palms. If we may.
PHIM, SoCal approach, good morning. Clear 29 Palms Airport, the Bermuda Dunes 1 departure procedure to Bermuda Dunes Airport, direct thermal as filed. Maintain 5,000. Expect 7,000 10 after departure. Departure frequency 126.7, squawk 7010.
Right, Papa Tilting, Mike is cleared to the 29 Palms Airport via the Bermuda 1 departure to Bermuda. Thermal then has filed, climb to 5,000, expect 7,000 10 minutes after departure, 126.7 and squawk 7010 for Papa Tilting, Mike.
PHCIM, read back correct. And that's a charted procedure, correct?
Oh, that's correct.
Do me a favor, is that the CUD one or does it say Bermuda Dunes one?
That's the CUD one.
Okay, that's my fault there. CUD 1 departure, CUD.
Roger. Papa Tilting, Mike. Nice.
PHCIM, read back correct, hope release advised ready for departure.
Roger, Papa Tilting, Mike. Thanks. Okay, so that means that, which is interesting. So once we are ready for departure, that means once we hold short. Sometimes I've also seen real-world examples, but also here on PilotEdge, where the clearance control in this case, the departure controller,
standby.
will give you a void time and says, well, and you need to get off within the next 6 minutes or 8 minutes or 10 minutes, or he can ask you how much time do you actually need before you depart. You can give a minute. You can say, well, you need to depart at 1615, or there are different ways by which you can do this. This is actually perfect. Now we can do whatever we like, and we this once we are holding short and we're ready for departure, we say, hey, here we are, departure, ready to go. And then we need to switch over to the CTAF, and interesting. Well, it says LA Center, Keith. Here. Bermuda Dunes, departure, LA Center. Yeah, I have to be honest. Also, when I saw this, I said, okay, apparently it's LA Center. I'm just following for flight here. Don't know. It's wrong. Review the plates. Yeah, SoCal departure. Your guys are right. So that would mean that don't trust for flight and always look at the plates, which makes sense. Also, thanks for the follow, Gurk. Thanks, appreciate it. What does that star mean? Does that mean that it's not a full service, full-time, full scheduled service, not 24/7 service? I don't know what the star means actually. So controls Bermuda Dunes, it's right next to Palm Springs. Yeah, I saw it. Bucky, good to see you. Welcome. Okay, so we're draining our battery like crazy. But with the wonders of flight simming, we can just say recharge. But that's an important point. So I'd like to incorporate it as well. And mostly I'm chatting away, but this could be a bit more efficient. So that means now we got our route, our routing to thermal. Yeah, and then as filed. So we can just put that in as we already imagined it would be. Now I think, is the ODP also part of the I guess not, because it's an ODP. But just to make sure. Ha! Ho! Puh! Tsuh! Look at that. Good. Then we're gonna move down. And we're gonna enter stuff, right? And what we're gonna enter? We're gonna enter thermal, obviously. It's already there. Yeah, it's already there. And then we're gonna go to, so even though we filed a Victor Airway, I still like to put in all of the waypoints that comprise that Victor Airway. Initially I thought you should actually just put in the Victor Airway here in the GPS, and then the GPS just knows what you're trying to do here. But cones. Cones. Hello, Tim. Cones. Oh. Cones, intersecting south as USA. Sounds good. What's the distance? 12. That makes sense. Then cloud. Come on. We're getting there, cloud. There it is already, yep. And then we are going to, yeah, 29 palms. T. Could have been the other way around. 29 palms. 29 palms. Click. Yes. We don't know what the approach is, so we keep it like this. Then I remove the cursor and I say clear. And if I'm right, you can see the routing. Yes, there you can see it. Wonderful. With the active lag now here, we do need to fly the departure procedure, which was interesting. Also happened with Palm Springs. So I initially thought that the departure procedure that you load up in the GPS would just include the full departure. So in this case, if you look at the departure here, we first need to obviously take off and then fly 150 to capture that radial, right? 304 radial into thermal. And obviously that's just based on the kind of aircraft you have, on how fast you can make that turn, I guess. But also with the Cathedral 1 departure from Palm Springs, there are some radials to catch and stuff. I thought that the GPS would also show us that first initial move to get to the Palm Springs Vortex, but it didn't do that. So you still need to pay attention and look at the plate, because the GPS is not really fully aware of the entire departure procedure that you're going to fly. Save the flight plan. Thank you, Ober. Thank you. Yes. So here we are. Flight plan. Then menu. Copy flight plan. Enter. Copy. Yes. And we can now check it, right? Yes, there it is. Also, our previous flight plan is still there. Good. Yeah, I'm so happy that you guys are here. So that's what we did. Looking at the checklist, that's nothing else that we need to do, right? Ground thing, yes. Handing mock avionics off, yeah, exactly. So off, yeah. Again, man, it took a lot of time here. Battery off, fuel tank. Yeah, we're just gonna start the engine. Okay. Everything's still set. Why do I remove my or turn off my batteries? No one knows. Throttle in, fuel pump, positive fuel flow, 2, 3, cut off, fuel pump off. Again, fuel tanks. Everything is set. No one is walking around, so clear prop. Ignition, mixture full in. Back to both. 1200. Oil pressure already in the green. Very good. Alternator on, positive ammeter. Let's lean for ground, max RPM. Still a rise, still a rise, still a rise, still a rise, and there's a drop, so something like this. Back to 1000 and allow the engine to warm up. We're already plus 75. Just warming up, I guess, by the 32 degrees outside. Avionics now can go on, and we need to put on our mode C and obviously our squawk. 7 0 1 0 7010. Yes, I think it would even be better if I put in the transponder code first and then go to mode C, rather than going to mode C and squawking 1200 and then changing it, I guess. Time now is blah blah. By the way, when you fly release, this is the, oh yes, 40 if not off by blah blah, and advising no later than blah blah. Exactly. All right, Stefan, good catch. No, but I knew that. So they could have, ATC could have given that void time stuff also already when we did our initial call. In that case, perhaps if ATC was kind, it would ask, well, they could have asked us, when are you ready for departure? But yeah, once we're now at the whole short line, we will get that void time, yeah, obviously. Okay, good. So that's set, engine is on, everything is very good, I think, except for the GPS. There we go, we load it up again, self-test, blah, 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 flight plan. No, that's not what I want to do. Clear, I want to go to flight plan, and then menu, that's what I want to do. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to go to this flight plan. Then press, then here, and then I say menu, and I say activate flight plan. Boom. Yes, and now if I go clear, I can still see it, right? Yes, thanks to Over. I have asked before about what software do you use for the Souls on Board subscriber. I don't know anymore. Don't know. Post it on Discord and I will look after the stream. I think that now I think that most services actually now provide a way to do that. The Souls on Board. Or at least viewers. Also what I like is a bit of a glare shield. Does it work? It doesn't. Okay. Apparently. Engine is on, double check. Well, yeah, we need to set our 80. Good. 1.5 is going to be a departure. Blah blah blah. And again, we also need to actually set. We can fly this on the GPS, but it's always good to have some redundancy. I should make it a habit, even though I'm actually not quite situationally aware to use that stuff in combination with my GPS just yet. It's good to set it. We can also use the GPS to get those frequencies, but here thermal is 116.2. 116.2. That's good. Now, why did I use my radio? I could just use the GPS. Nav2. That's what I want to do. Yeah. So 29 palms is 114.2. No. Cursor. Thank you. 114. Is it true? 114.2? And thermal is also 0.2. Yeah, apparently. Okay, good. So that's prepped as well. Now for a changeover point, this is really not that handy. So if we were flying slant alpha, you can see here there's that changeover point in terms of frequencies. We could do that with one stack. So with the nav1, we can just swap. Or we don't need to swap actually. What am I saying? Because once we reach 20 nautical miles away from thermal, we can just flip over the switch and then fly into 29 palms Vortec. In any case, you don't have to be very complex about this, I guess, using the nav1 and the nav2. You could, but yeah, I know, Keith. I know. Yeah, I know. And I know that I already looked it up, or I think I also saw you do that on the real-world IFR videos, I believe. Also, I was also curious, looking at some videos that I made in your cockpit, the fields that you're using for this display. So I've changed these up, customized those. So that's the cross track error and the desired track and the ground track and stuff. I don't know if it's the same configuration as yours, but I believe I know I have all the same stuff that you have as well. Not quite sure. You'll be stunned how fast it is. Yeah. Roger. So for situational awareness, this is for now. This is fine. Okay. Again, I'm taking so much time. I'm really enjoying myself. Yes. Anything else that I need? No, I don't. I do like to have my nav lights on. We're completely ready. Yeah. Parking brakes released. Brake test. Actually, switch to CDEF. Depart 10, so Bermuda Dunes traffic, Sky Popper Delta Tango Mike is 62 runway 10 for a straight out departure, Bermuda. Also interesting here, Jason mentioned it as well in one of his videos with flight shops. I mean, the CTEF is obviously now used for VFR pilots as well, also by IFR pilots at times. So you actually need to serve both parties in a way. Hey, there's another airplane on the runway. That might be AI. That could actually head our direction. And I'm going to totally ignore that. So for example, when you arrive at an airport and you're on your approach, you need to switch over to CDAF before you close your flight plan. You need to announce that you're coming in, right? Well, on the approach itself, I guess when you're on the final approach, it doesn't really matter that much, but if the approach is a little bit more sophisticated or complex, you should actually mention as part of your announcement or position report that you're on a particular approach, or in this case also on the departure procedure, I guess, so that other IFR pilot that might be nearby would know. I guess there should be always some separation there. All the other IFR pilots are obviously coordinated by A to C, but I believe Jason mentioned that. Including with that, not just saying I'm on this approach, because the VFR pilots have no idea what you're talking about, most likely. So always include on top of that your actual just regular position report, like so many miles away from blah 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 blah. Where has that airplane gone? Perhaps it was a pilot. Went into this wonderful hangar. Explain. Be kind. Be kind. Thank you. I just say where I am and keep it strictly VFR. Alright, Keith. I remember Jason mentioned the approach that he was on as well, including just the regular VFR stuff. But this is interesting, and again, this was also part, or I was also aware of this as part of my VFR ground schooling, my self-study, a long time ago. It happened also here with my IFR study. Is not just only about learning IFR, but there is also, at least in my mind, most of the time actually, is also about learning what's not proper IFR. So in some cases there are scenarios that I think, yeah, but how does this apply to that? And what happens if this? And what happens if that? And there are a lot of subtleties there, which I guess are not that important, but I think I'd like to know those. Okay, so here we are. Again, engine is already for the green, at least the oil temperature. So put your full in, 1800. No, not shooting messages, oil pressure, everything is stable, looks good. Left mag, good enough drop, back to both. To both as well. Again, still stable, vacuum is in the green. Oil pressure's in the green, everything looks good. Back to 1000, we keep in the mixture, landing lights on, strobe lights on. Okay, so I guess now we're first going to call up, actually, perhaps we need to turn off our landing lights and strobe lights just yet. Interesting. And we're going to call up SoCal departure, and we're going to say we're ready for departure. Then we get a void time, I guess. And we need to contact them as soon as we're up. I have to see, 5,000, 7,000. Yeah. Let's see. So we're synced. I didn't even put my COM 1 on. That's bad. So I turned that off because I was chatting with you guys, but I didn't turn it on already.
5 mics here, affirmative.
About
another 5 miles or so here. I can turn you now if you like. Flighting 120 for Cessna 5 mics here.
Again, we could also just briefly check the
5 mics here, let's make it
150, so 150,
and that should be perfect.
and we already have that set here on our. Yeah, we also have it GPS mode, which is also important. In this case, not really necessary. We can also just fly Descent Alpha, but this is cool. So we are prepped. Also important that I did not explicitly mention is the climb gradient standard. So because we're flying 10, it's 300 blah 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 nautical mile, feet per nautical mile, which is actually just fine, to 3,000 feet. for 170, and the 490 is also just fine, but it's always, that's already, if you're fully loaded, I'm not really sure if you can make that for runway 28 there. Always important to look at that minimum climb gradient. I think was 500 for the 172 SP, 520 feet per nautical mile, translated to about 700 feet per minute, something like that, with 80 knots. I think so. Not quite sure. But that's important stuff. Again, prepared, we're synced, and I'm ready to go. Also mentioned that we're IFR. SoCal departure, Sky Papa Delta Tango Mike. It's only short runway 10 at Bermuda. Ready for departure, IFR.
PHIM, release for departure, clearance void if not off in 3 minutes. Not off in 3 minutes. Advise intentions, not later than 6 minutes. Change of advice frequency approved.
Roger that. Clear to 29 Palms, and in, if not off in 3 minutes, we'll advise Papa Delta Mike. I was confused because I didn't hear something like cleared for.
PHIM, say again.
Papa Delta Mike is cleared for the IFR departure, and will advise in 3 minutes, if not off after 3 minutes. Papa Delta Mike.
Right. Well, ask at 7:30 if that was you calling. You got to the call sign.
I was confused there because I initially thought that I was mentioning like something like, well, clear for takeoff, or let's go, and I was actually focusing on the void time, so I didn't consciously hear that first chunk. I thought, what did he actually say? What did he actually cleared me for? And then I slowly remembered something like cleared. Obviously now our IFR flight plan is cleared. We have 3 minutes now to get off, so that was a bit confusing. It was interesting stuff. Release for departure, roger, exactly. Alright, landing lights on, strobe lights on, everything is in.
7:30, confirm your ramp, verify ramp.
That was braking sounds. Also interesting. Not too hard. I should actually now swap back to CTAF and say, Bermuda Dunes traffic, Sky Papa Delta Tango Mike is departing runway 10, straight out departure for the Bermuda Dunes 1 departure. Papa Delta Tango Mike, Bermuda. Well, this is interesting. There we go. This is so cool. There's so much to learn. It's good. RPM is good. Engine is good. 50, 60. Let's go. Very interesting. It's still so new for me. And not just remembering what to do, but also just thinking about what I just did. And there's just so much thinking going on. 200 feet, very good. Flaps up. Let's see if we can get to 29 palms, guys. Let's pause. 400 feet. There you go.
Last 7:30. The ramps are either Charlie 6 through 10 or Delta 7 through 10, and then the international ramp. There is also the west remote ramp. I'm receiving a transponder on Charlie 10.
Again, stabilize. Your compass is kind of synced, yes. Everything is looking good. 15, I'm looking for that needle to come in.
Right, taxi via Charlie 10. And
that speed.
Bravo.
And set. Roger. Just have my chart in there ready. Needle is slowly creeping in already. 298, 289. I mean, 289. Yes. Yeah, sorry, Keith. Sorry. There we go. So needle coming in already. GPS mode. One, 2, 4. We should fly. Once we hit that needle. Again, so maintain, anticipate. Alright, a bit further. And we're going up to 5, right? Yes, 5,000 feet. Oh, too far, Tim. It's just amazing how I managed to choose to distract myself
maintain 3,500. Go
in the midst of executing a task. Yeah, so what I'm already noticing, and I didn't quite fully brief my departure. I looked at the lateral chunk of the departure just before takeoff, I mean. Oh yeah, I should call SoCal. That's a cool one. I almost forgot. And SoCal departure, Skype tilting. Mike is now at 2,300 for 5,000. Good one. Because the 3 minutes might be off. Hey, I switched. SoCal departure, Skype tilting. Mike is now 2,500 for 5,000.
PHTM, SoCal departure right there.
There's Flash, tilting, Mike.
There are five mics here. Let me clarify what
Look at my track,
what I said
already
there.
off.
I answered it correctly, but incorrectly.
Totally forgot that I need to.
There's no hold depicted because.
And it's actually the S, Master. Speak.
You would
I didn't go to the S.
The radial you hold on, you kind of figure out from looking at the racetrack.
Interesting. This is so cool.
The radial.
This is so much a mind game.
Direction.
And it's not that difficult what you need to do, but there's.
So, you could hold however you want to hold over. The entire thing is protected, so you can hold on whatever radial you want. Standard turn, standard direction turns.
Speed is a bit low.
Yep. So it's standard hold.
Oh yeah.
Turns, but,
damn it, Keith. Thanks.
The radial you hold on.
126.7.
Most people would just make a direct entry.
126.7. Damn it. 126.7.
Interesting. Here, that's affirmative flight.
So,
230.
Again, I did not fully prepare.
HTIM radar contact 4 miles northwest, thermal VOR, climb maintain 7,000.
Climb maintain 7,000, but I'll take my precision checks.
R120 Sierra uniform, plus standards ground.
Alright.
You got blocks again.
Let's see if we can reach 7,000. We're going into the soup now.
R0
Yeah, strobe lights are off.
Right. Taxi via Bravo 1, Bravo.
Yeah, so I did not rehearse my full. I did not rehearse this.
R5 Max here, 4 miles from ESCOM, maintain 3,500 to establish localized clear on this runway 24 approach.
And the whole plan falls to ground.
R5 Max here, correction, clear localized.
Also,
24 approach.
Again, maintain. We can now already lean our engine a bit.
So that's the 450 contacts.
We need to watch my speed here. We're going up quite fast. I have to go a bit faster than this. Also, we're in the clouds. We don't have any icing stuff. Probability of icing. And also, again, it's good now to
so that's the 7645
switch to this.
zeros. Baker should approach.
2.90.
Advise you have weather and approach request.
So we have 2 nautical miles, around 3 nautical miles to get to 7,000. Most likely we're not gonna reach that in time.
280 instead of maintain 6,000.
And that means that we're going to fly the hold as part of the departure procedure. I'm not quite sure whether the controller knows that we need to do that. So as part of the procedure, I guess I don't need to report that we're going to do that. Even though it might be good always to establish that two-way understanding, I guess. I mean, we're now at 5,000, still need 2,000 feet to go, and we have 2 nautical miles. There's the flash. Yeah, so...
PHALA, San Luis Tower, make straight in, runway 29, report 3 mile final.
Perhaps it's digital. PH really rings a bell, and I think, oh my gosh, he's talking to me. Okay, 289 already set here. And actually, while I'm doing that, I should have actually already. It's interesting. 289. Why am I turning it this way around? I don't know. 289.
Cessna 120 Sierra uniform, Los Angeles Tower, runway 25
So,
right, clear for takeoff. wind
we can switch
260
off
at
the
12.
GPS mode. It's from. We're already past it. And now we need to fly the parallel. Well, 0.4 distance, yeah, but we're in the air. Oh. Come on. So we keep climbing. We're now flying the hold. At least the parallel. And I should actually time that. Also, I didn't time my departure. Forgetting a lot of things here. Oh man. Come on, stay on that heading. Why are we still... Oh yeah, obviously you could make that into 109er. Doesn't really matter that much, but 109er.
Approach Southwest 1632, wonder if we get tower.
109er.
So 1632, contact tower, 109.7, we'll see you.
19.7, see it.
PH, it wasn't you, digital. Alright.
So 1632, Palm Springs Tower, wind 1208, runway 13 right.
Okay. 1 minute almost passed.
DHTIM, clear direct 29 Palms.
Clear direct to 29 Palms, Hotel Mac.
Scout 5 flanks here,
All right.
contact the Palomar
I was
Tower,
ready to make that turn.
18.6.
Click.
Cessna 450,
Keep climbing.
fly heading
Back to
350,
mode.
so maintain 4,500.
Flight plan. Click. I'm doing two things at the same time.
Or 965 Mike 0, Palomar
First,
Tower, runway 24,
kind of like the general
2507.
heading, we need to go to 7,500 feet to go. Stabilize first. Then I buy myself a bit more time to do stuff. Then I go to this cones.
DHALA, runway 29 at Clone Land.
I want to go direct. Fly. Yes, activate. There we go. Need to go a bit more to the left. Much more to the left, actually. Come on, keep the climb going. At least 500 feet. And also, as the old guy mentioned, use your heading bugs. So now we're actually catching up. 7,200 feet. Let's be a bit more aggressive with catching our... Well, it's actually direct. We don't have to catch that particular... What are we flying actually? From thermal to cones right now. Yeah, so that's not technically direct like we were instructed to do. Now we're gaining on our cross track. There's 7,000. Push down, first stabilize. So speed. There goes the speed. The lag from thermal to cone, yeah, exactly. Keith, that's what is... How do I... Okay, but then I want to know how to actually go straight direct with my GPS. In terms of button knowledge. Let me first get this stuff going. It's good. Get a bit less fast. We can lean our engine just a tiny bit more. So what I did, again, first stabilized him. There's the terrain in front of us. Okay, this is pretty okay. We can also look at our true airspeed. We're going to do that soon. So yes, I noticed that. I flew the. I'm now flying the track from thermal to cones, but not going direct. And there is a much quicker way. I saw Keith do the same thing. But how do I do that? I think you just hit direct. But thought I did. But
right, line up and wait.
this is not an okay situation. At the very least, tune the VOR and navigate to it using this casino. Yes, that's true. I have all else request an initial heading to TMP. Cursor in your flight plan, then hit direct. I did that.
30 traffic, Skyhawk on the turning cross, wind runway 25 right, cliff takeoff.
Oh, I did. Oh my gosh. Yes. No, now I know what I. Sorry, guys. Again, I'm.
Alaska 730
Direct.
traffic, Skyhawk, just
Direct.
on the actually standby home position.
There we go.
Skyhawk 120 Sierra uniform, SoCal departure, radar contact. Where are you heading there? Stop your turn.
It reminds. This stuff reminds me of
uniform, you should be flying at 200
what Jason was telling me, or tell me what he was telling on YouTube. Like this particular exercise that you could fly
the Santa Monica radio, then you fly the heading.
to exercise your IFR muscle. And there will be a point where you're so overloaded that you wouldn't, when he would then ask you what's your name, you would have no mental processing to give your name, and you would just say, well, stand by. Well, for me, that point is already just flying direct to my fix. All right, there we go, 22. I'm already flying 22.
Says the 450, fly heading 320.
I thought I was already going direct to thermal while I was actually going to cones. You guys said it on chat, but I didn't register.
Whiskey monitor ground, have a good day.
No, you're activating lag. You need to go direct to Tom's range. At this point, it's close enough that you will be able to tell the difference, but that was, yeah, totally agree. Stay there in the sense that I'll beat your sense. Yeah. Gunner for your possible pilot deviation. Yeah, exactly. Oh, there are two
taxi parking bay Alpha, have a good day.
Two F-16s just joined me. Yeah, but the mistake was I thought that I went direct to thermal, but I just did the trick with my next waypoint. I thought, oh, that's my next waypoint thermal. I didn't read cones, so I just said direct, and enter. Yeah, that's I totally agree. That's also in terms of my speed, and we are flying. 16 minutes to go. We can do all kinds of stuff, important stuff. So, COM2. Well, we kind of grab our ATIS, but we need to use the local altimeter setting of Palm Springs. So we can also update our charts. Why I still have those in view, I don't know.
So that's 45010 miles from JUPEX.
Maps, Palm Springs, 118.25. That's still set in F2.
That's runway 30 right approach.
INTL information, Quebec. 2200 Zulu weather. Wind 130 at 8. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 3000.
Cessna 0 Sierra uniform flighting 160. Contact departure 134.9.
Altimeter 2983. Arriving runways 13 right, 13 left.
Okay. Again, my altitude is all over the place. Still sync. Lights. Yeah, nav lights, strobe lights, we can put those on still. Next point, still have some time to go. And we can do all kinds of briefs still, but man, this is so interesting. My gosh! Clones to TMV is not direct. Yeah, I know. Thermal cones is not direct. Yes, I know. Yeah. I know.
120 Sierra uniforms, SoCal departure flighting 130, climb maintain 5000.
Fascinating.
0 Sierra uniform flighting 130, climb maintain 5000. Alaska 730, SoCal departure, radar contact, climb maintain 12000. American 102, Los Angeles clearance cleared, Phoenix
on.
Airport, dots 2, departure scenery transition as followed, climb via SID, except maintain 5000, departure frequency 125.2, squawk 3703.
You get it next time. Yeah, but I need to rehearse it. Otherwise the rhythm ripped away. Yeah, so I'm activating the lag, but I'm not going direct. And I did this also when I was messing around the GPS. I need to figure that one out. I totally understand what the conceptual mess up is, but yeah. Okay, so okay. So there we go. Again, long time to go. Long way to go. The approach we already briefed a bit, but we need to do that again. Also, we need to let ATC know what we're up to. In terms of what we like to do. We like to fly the full RNF GPS approach 26. And as you guys mentioned in the previous stream, just be proactive, ask for it.
5 Max here, taxi parking be Alpha, monitor ground.
Now, I believe also that I read somewhere,
730 contact.
That you should do your,
127.4.
give your approach request once you talk to the approach controller, or in this case the center approacher that is mentioned on the plate, and not any earlier. So once we are switched over to 128.15, that's the controller that I should actually talk to do my approach, or to request my approach. I don't know if that's correct. But I believe that's yes. What are the altitudes? What's the margin for the actual check ride? It's 50 feet or something like that, or 100? I don't remember.
Alaska 730, SoCal departure, climb via SID.
I think. Roger. Come on, I'm just... It's already taking so much concentration just to fly a needle, which is already part of my VFR. I already know this stuff. So cool. So cool. Set. Alright, good. Again. 15, yes. Makes sense. And that's 229 pounds because we're going direct. Yeah. It will be a good time already to, I guess, announce or request what we like to do. And again, 29 palms. And then because I like to fly to wiser then. And while I'm saying that, I'm actually not... I don't actually know how to you load up the approach, and you can still fly direct to a waypoint of the approach without deleting all of the other waypoints, right, of the approach. Is that correct? I think that's correct.
Alaska 730 contact Los Angeles Center 133.55.
Use my young pet. Yeah, exactly. Use the trim. Yeah, 80s. We don't have 80s of 29 palms. We already got the altimeter setting.
Contact SoCal approach 128.1.
Mr. Approach 6000 and go back to Wiser. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And yeah, just request the approach, I think. And we're already 12 miles out. Yeah, so that's
120 Sierra Uniform SoCal approach, flighting 090. When able, proceed direct El Toro, join Victor 363. Zero Sierra Uniform, direct El Toro, join Victor 363.
Also, I should use multiple pages. Also helped me in the previous IFR flight.
Alaska 730, Los Angeles Center, and you never got a clearance to go up to 31. Alaska 730, the top altitude on that departure is 17,000, so you should have stopped at 17.
Also,
Climb and
what is
maintain
the
level
CTAF?
310.
1 to 2.8, that's still set, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. In case we need to switch, also not something we
Yeah,
need
no problem. Climb
do.
via SID means you're going to take all the, accept all the restrictions up to the top altitude and stop at the top altitude.
What I also liked looking at his videos was using the checklist and also the ForeFlight always next to your instrument panel, so you can keep scanning while checking your checklist rather than just looking at your knee, or noticing that in this sim as well. Distracting myself. Alright. We're talking to SoCal approach, I think. I thought it was SoCal approach. SoCal departure. SoCal approach, Skype Delta Mike. We'd like to fly the full RNF GPS approach into runway 26, starting from 29 palms FORTEC, if that's okay.
PHTIM, I'm sure it is. Contact Los Angeles Center 126.35.
126.35, oh, that's right.
Cessna 450, contact Bakersfield Tower 118.
That was Los Angeles Center or approach, actually.
Cessna 76450, Bakersfield Tower, runway 30 right, clear to land.
Los Angeles Center, Skype Hotel Tank, Mike is level 7000.
PHTIM, Los Angeles Center, the Palm Springs altimeter 29087, safe approach request.
We'd like to fly the RNAV 26 approach into 29 palms, starting from 29 palms FORTEC.
PHTIM, Roger, cross 29 palms at 7,000, cleared RNAV runway 26 approach.
Cross 29 palms at 7,000 and cleared for the RNF 26 approach into 29 palms. Okay, 7,000. Not 6,000. We got 5 nautical miles to go. We're still all over the place with our needle, but that means that we can now load it in, right? So, boom, boom. I didn't put in the actual destination airport. So what happens now? We got double TNP if I put it in. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. Still, I'm all over the place. Slipped approach. Because now he doesn't know what we're trying to do. Yeah. No. Approach. Enter. 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 T. Come on. T. N. P. Enter. RNF approach. Starting from TP. Enter. Load. We're already cleared, by the way, to fly that particular approach. So we could already activate it, I think. This is TNP. We're now flying to TNP. 1 minute to go. Yes, 7,000. There's the needle. Good. Yes. Still, I'm behind the ball or just near it. Not in front of the game at all. Again, it's still looking good. Okay. We got the CTF in the standby. 126.35. That's good. 7,000. Once we are there, we need to go to Wiser. And it's already set in. That's good. So now we can remove and go away. And we can zoom in. And we know what to do. Yes, we have our chart here. So 6,000 to Wiser and then 265. Don't know what the GPS will do here. And again, that's also something that I need to work on. I'm not quite sure what I can expect with the GPS. As you can see, 7,000, Tim. 1 nautical mile to go, almost to go to Wiser. Make a turn. 0.82. Come on, stay on top. Bit more power.
JetBlue 1634, Palm Springs clearance, clear to Las Vegas Airport, Cathedral 1 departure, Palm Springs as filed. Maintain 7,000. Departure frequency 126.7, squawk 7224.
Okay, 082. Situational awareness looks good. GPS, why is my GPS saying I'm off track?
JetBlue 1634, be back.
Because I'm off track. Okay, still 6 miles to go. 7,000, good. Capture that track. 265 is down. Yes, 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 yes. We're gonna fly a holding. That's prepared. No, I want to reset it. There you go. Yes. Landing lights on. Why not?
Or 286 Whiskey Foxtrot, Santa Barbara clearance. You confused me a little bit there. What I heard was destination route is to the east. Did you say your destination? Yeah. And I didn't hear it?
And again, desired track 082. Yes. Instead of picture, yeah, I know, Keith. But at the same time, I like the picture actually.
6 Whiskey Foxtrot, thank you for that. On departure flight runway heading.
082.
Flight below 1,500
miles to go. Yes.
Departure frequency 120.55.
Good. I think I'm ahead.
6472.
Just bought myself some time. Okay. Still relieved. Compass is synced. Green, green, green. Landing lights. Good. Again, 200 feet too high.
6 short read back, correct.
4 nautical miles to go. Come on. Again, beautiful 29 Palms area here. It's so pretty. Love the deserts.
American 102, Los Angeles ground. Say ramp and turn your transponder on.
Okay, so once we're at Wiser. Yeah. Curious to see what the GPS will do actually. How do you know what your track is right now? I can look.
Cessna 76450.
I don't know what my desired track is. Yeah, that's true. That's something of a feel that I don't have here. So I'm just flying the needle here, relative, I guess.
Cessna 450, right? Just FYI, monitor means.
So there you go.
But do not check in.
Track is currently 082. It's a bit more.
No problem.
Bit more, Tim. Bit more. And lower. Good.
63 Charlie Papa. San Luis ground. Make straight in runway 29 to report 3 mile final.
Yeah, true, Keith. I'm so glad you're here. Okay. 1 nautical mile to go. Then we're going to fly pretty much a parallel entry. Also means that we can already be at 6. We crossed already. That's also interesting. We're already crossed 29 palms at 7,000. We already completed that assignment.
Runway 25 right, taxi Charlie 9.
Now we can already go to 6,000. Alright, pretty much over. Whole teardrop. Yes, thanks. So the GPS already mentions that. That's interesting. Let's put this one on. We're not really there yet. I should have waited just a few seconds. Oh, come on. Thanks, Keith, for dropping by and all of your help. Appreciate it. What a great day, buddy. Really nice. Okay, yes.
286 Whiskey Foxtrot, Santa Barbara ground.
There we go. So now I'm focusing on my approach plate here. Teardrop. What is it? What is it? It's now, yeah, wiser. So the GPS knows that we're interesting. 20 seconds to go. If I do, no, not clear. If I, that's also not what I want to do.
0 Sierra uniform.
Yeah, you can just see it.
Resume on navigation.
Huh. Interesting. Yes, so again, I'm not correcting for winds.
35 miles
Thinking about Stefan.
At maintain flight level 230.
But our trek is going pretty okay. Feet to go. Already passed. We could already made that turn, by the way. We don't have to fly the entire holding pattern. Okay, 6,000 is coming up. It's just flying that 1 minute, I think. Standard rate turn, 6,000. Yes.
R602 Charlie Papa, runway 29, Erica land.
Right. Does it understand what we're doing? Also, I don't need to fly. It's not a downwind. Keep turning, Tim. Come on. There we go. Something like this. But I'm now just flying the plate. I'm actually not flying. We're now direct to wiser. Yes, this works. So the needle now creeps in. Still at 6,000. Yes. $90 is good. Comes the needle. Should have started my turn a bit sooner. Because now we're going to overshoot it. Well, with a 172 perhaps not that significantly. There we go. So bummer that the overcast has already gone away. Alright, 0.8 nautical miles. Man, this is cool. Oh man, my brain feels fried already. And again, when I'm sitting at looking at videos and stuff, IFR departures, I think this is so basic. The plate is so basic. I totally understand what I need to do, but once you fly it, also by hand, no autopilot. Okay, wiser. Now we're going to go to Hurdy, and that means 4,800. So now it's actually not that difficult. He said. Trim 265, we just fly the needle. Landing lights, everything is on. Nav lights, we don't really care about anymore. 4,800. CTAP 1 to 2.8. We're already cleared for the... I should have done this already. We're already cleared for the approach at 129.87. Yeah, I forgot about that. I also totally forgot about my checklist. At least now I remind myself to do that, but yeah, look at that. Oh my gosh, we didn't do a cruise check. Well, I did maintain stuff, but I didn't follow my checklist. Alright, still going down. 3 nautical miles to go. We're gonna hit that 4,800 in time. That's good. While we are descending, we can also enrich our mixture, I guess, just a bit. Well, it doesn't really affect that much. You're now doing a parallel entry.
RQ Charlie Papa taxi parking via Alpha. Have a good day.
Teardrop. Yep, that's true, Stefan. Indeed. Now, because we have clouds inside, I'm not going to cancel IFR just yet. 2 nautical miles to go. We're still descending on track. 4,800 is our next. It's Hurdy. So there we go. It's getting darker. Let's also put on our nav lights. Perhaps we're going to get some IC here. A bit more power here. More power. 1 point. Blah blah. Ah, thank you, IMC. He said. And then we're gonna drop down to 3,800. Almost there. St. Tim inbound IFF, don't remember this. Ah, yes. Ah, that's a good one, Stefan. I will. Just a sec. There we go. I'm now going to drop down for stabilize.
PHTIM, no traffic observed. Change to advised frequency approved. For IFR cancellation and misapproach this frequency.
Apologies, could you please repeat?
PHTIM, no traffic observed. Change to advisory frequency approved. Report your IFR cancellation or missed approach this frequency.
Roger that. Change frequency approved and report once we are VMC both attack.
Cessna 0, Sierra Uniform, contact SoCal approach.
We need to go down. 3,800. Steady climb.
102, contact departures yet.
Okay, so that means that we are now free. We're still on IFR. That we can go and switch over. Come on, go down.
JetBlue 1364, Palm Springs ground, runway 3.
How many miles?
Runway 13 right, taxi via Whiskey Lima.
Then we can switch over to CDEV and announce what we're doing. 1 to 2.8 already set. So, yeah, how many miles? We should know. Hurdy, and that is 1 mile, so that's 4. About 10 is that. Okay. 3,800. Yeah. I can already see Bermuda June at 29 palms. 29 palms traffic. Sky Papa Delta Tango Mike is 10 miles to the east, currently on the Arnav runway 26 approach, inbound for a full stop. At 29 palms. Go down, Tim. Good. We're still on the CTAP. We can remain there. Perhaps there's other VFR traffic. In any case, now the airspace here has now been reserved for us as a single IFR pilot here until we cancel our IFR. So naturally, ATC likes us to cancel IFR as quickly as possible if there's other traffic here in the vicinity. IFR traffic, that is. Because then it frees up the airspace and someone else can also depart or arrive. 3,800. Already going to Jusix, already passed it already. So we're going to go to the minimum descent altitude, 2940. We'll go down, already see the runway. So in a sense, we can already cancel our IFR. Also off of my track. Go down. Because I'm not really relying on this weather. Perhaps we're going to go in IMC, knowing X-plane. You also already see that 7-degree angle on the runway. So it's an offset. So I also mentioned there. 2,940. Let's say 3,000. 700 feet to go. Okay, so make sure in, analyze everything is on, set. Good. And we can already set 1 notch of flaps. I mean, we're past CDAP, so should have been more aware of that happening. Suddenly I saw Ju 6. In case of a missed approach, it's going to be climb to 6,000 and right turn to what was it called? Wiser? Alright, 400 feet to go for, well, 2940. Again, just for you guys to see. Feet to go for 3,000. 29 palms traffic, Skyport Hotel taking Mike is 30 miles to the east on final runway 26 full stop. 29 palms. There's 3,000. We have the visual of the runway, so we continue. And now we're going to align ourselves. And what's also interesting here, which also makes flying towards an untowered field a bit more difficult, let me sync my track IR here, is even though we're IFR pilots, there could be VFR traffic here that doesn't mind us doing anything. They can just, like a usual untowered field, fly base legs, crosswinds, whatever they like here. So always be very, very wary. The fact that you're flying IFR and these spaces reserved, blocked for you as an IFR pilot, doesn't mean that you're the only one there. Alright, to the wide bend, second notch of flaps, we really need to get down. It's also an effect of not descending quickly. Still, ATC is now waiting for us to cancel IFR. It's interesting. But again, a lot of the phraseology and procedure was just unfamiliar to me, so I just need to really consciously listen to what they are saying and what it means, obviously. Man, it was an interesting flight. After a busy working day, this is tough, I can tell you. Made the field full flaps. There we go, guys. Nice. On the ground. Flaps up. There's already our runway. So, again, I forget the station that we're actually talking to. Was that SoCal Approach or Los Angeles? Should have wrote that down. Alright, landing lights off, strobe lights off, still on CTAF, 29 pumps, traffic, Skype Hotel taking Mike is clear runway 26, taxiing to the ramp, 29 pumps. Okay, SoCal, thanks over. OBR. Okay, sets, landing lights lip, good, parking brakes, and I switch back to SoCal.
Southwest, correction, American 102, contact Los Angeles Center 133.5.
Man, I'm so tired. Gosh.
Southwest 2429 altitude.
Don't know if they're still in the conversation, so waiting. Circle approach, sky proper tilting. Mike is landed on 29 palms clear of the runway. Cancel IFR.
PHTIM, IFR cancellation received. Have a good day.
Thanks for the help. Proper tilting, Mike. That completes our IFR flight to 29 palms. My gosh, did I learn something? So, to be honest, comparing that to my first IFR flight,
350.
I did some things better, but I guess just a few percent. I made a significant mistake, a serious mistake, in terms of that direct to 29 palms while I was actually activating a lag, which was just me messing or not understanding my GPS, or not really paying attention to what I was doing with my GPS actually. Off VFR, good. Do we need anything else here? No. Why is my GPS still on? Guess Reality XP is not synced with my avionics. That's interesting. Off both, looks good, and off you go. Yes. Off, and there we are. Gosh. Yeah, so I made a mistake with activating that lag mindlessly from thermal to what was that first fix? It was Palm Springs to cones. That's what I did. And somehow in my mind I thought I'd actually hit direct to thermal, and I didn't. So that was just a mess up. That was just a brain fart, because obviously that's not what the instruction is. Direct to 29 palms meant directly to 29 palms, which is something different, right? So I need to figure out actually how to do a direct, because once I corrected myself, I still did not go direct. I activated a particular leg, I believe. So that requires a little bit more familiarization on for the GPS. Thanks, Stefan. Thank you for your help and tips. I really, really appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So that was a mistake. And what was also a mistake was the departure itself. So what I briefed, we went through the entire plate, and I was quite familiar with the procedure. It's very, very basic. But once I taxied to the runway, I was actually in my mind much more busy with, soon I'm going to chat with ATC and I'm going to get a void time, and I'm just curious, while forgetting about all of the other stuff that the departure controller already gave me that I should execute, namely this stuff, right? So the altitude, I wrote that down, but I didn't rehearse that as part of my takeoff brief. Checklist, I totally forgot. The frequency, I was talking to the departure controller that was talking to at the ground, 135 point something, while I should actually switch, already preset my standby frequency like I always do, to 126.7. So that's not good. That's not good. And it's not that I don't understand what I need to do, it's just that I don't integrate that flow, or it's still so new that, well, it's interesting. Great, very good stuff. I'll start my IFR training soon. Good, Digital. You should have already started. I know you're busy, but you already mentioned this. You were already mentioning this a while ago. You should. It's very, very interesting, and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can practice and do much more than I initially thought. And mostly for me, it's just brain muscle now. Conceptually, though, yeah, it's just knowledge. It's not that difficult. Also, if I look at the plate, we've been practicing isolated approaches. We've been practicing isolated departures without any ATC. And then stuff is very, very easy. But as soon as you at least in my case, if I combine all of that stuff, knowing that I'm actually on an IFR flight, I'm talking to ATC, somehow some other CPU process takes over and takes away all of my attention. And if I will review, once I'm going to review this video soon, I'm going to think, Tim, you can see this happening. Come on, think. So that's interesting. Psychologically, very, very interesting. And again, guys, I really appreciate your tips, also digital, but also Stefan and obviously Keith, who took his time here to slap me in the face with making mistakes and stuff. I really, really appreciated that. That's how I became a good VFR sim pilot, right? Attaining my CAT 11 rating, if you believe it or not, seeing this. So the same drill, I mean, I'm really excited, and I'm so much enjoying this stuff. Even though I make mistakes, these are just part of that learning curve. To be honest, I even dread the day that all of this IFR, the basic IFR, just flying a basic IFR flight will become familiar and okay, and I have a flow, and I think, okay, oh, there's still always something to learn, but these are just at the surface. I dread that day. I really love the fact that you can still keep learning. So then we need to do multi-engine, and we need to do ATP ratings, and we need to fly 737s to keep that growth mindset or that knowledge gap going, because that gap, that differential, I don't know, that's the drive for me at least. So a lot to learn. And I think even I've scheduled my Uncertified Pilot program. We'll just wait for the next stream, hands ready and warm for kind memory slaps. Yeah, we are. I've at UncertifiedPilot.com I scheduled 4 preparatory complete IFR flights in preparation of my I ratings. But seeing how poor I actually perform still, I think I'm going to include a couple of more IFR flights. Perhaps even tomorrow evening at 17:30 Zulu time, because I do not feel ready to do the I ratings. Now, obviously, again, I've mentioned this a couple of times, the I ratings are already meant for you to use for training, right? They're already incrementally building up. I frame those I ratings as check rides, so I like to be prepared, do the check rides, and consider that as my examination as a IFR sim pilot. So I still feel unprepared. I need to work a little bit more on the GPS. Also, without the GPS, also like Keith said, it's also very interesting, right? Once I filled around with the GPS and I couldn't figure out what the direct was, I could have just ignored the GPS and just went for the VOR like I always do, thermal and sign in. And so I'm locked into some way of thinking, and I should resolve that first, and then I gladly go through the I rating. So exciting, but that's the idea. Very quickly though, let's PilotEdge disconnect.
Disconnected.
Control P. I just like to see my flight path. Whoop. Yeah, so you can see there's the offset, the obvious offset of 7 degrees. I was still a bit wobbly, as you can see. There's the hold, or the parallel entry actually, going in. Here I came from 7,000, and yeah, I could have descended already much earlier. 29 Palms Vortex is somewhere around here, and we were cleared to cross 29 Palms here at 7,000. So once I crossed 7,000, I could have already descended to 6, and I didn't do that. I just stayed at 7,000. And also, while coming down here, I also could have descended a little bit more quick, because I was actually quite high here once I was on the final approach. The switching to the CTAF went all well. Luckily, one thing that I can note down in my book, and that's where we were coming from. I am curious to see the departure, though. There's here, where you take a lot of time to shift for. Well, I actually don't really mind, to be honest. I can also just hit C here and go up. Yeah, so runway 10, go up, made that turn to 150, then captured that radial as best as I could, and then we went up. Here I forgot about that frequency for SoCal, and I looked it up, and yeah, and there was thermal, and I already did that holding, which was good that I remembered that doing. A tiny thing, but hey, I did that. I was aware of that entry, which I did, and then we got that direct to thermal, and I messed that up with my GPS, and there we went all the way down to 29 palms. Yes, still here we are at thermal. 29 palms. I'd like to see my landing though. Because I always like to see my landing. Might as well I5 time now. Awesome, Stefan. You're welcome. Okay, there we go. So again, I was a bit crabbed, I noticed, as you can see, to the left. So I corrected for that at the last moment, a bit too late, I think. My wheels were already on the ground. So let's see what happened. But it was still smooth though. But so there I went. There's my rudder. But there my wheel was already down, and yeah, so I was actually skidding a bit over that center line, which is not good. But anyways, I was stable though. See that a bit more in high speed. There we go. Nose up, throttle away. Boom, yeah, I was already on the ground. Okay. Oh man, I feel so tired. I really need to rest now. It's actually 10 o'clock here in the evening, and so I need to get already prepared for getting into bed. That's the wrong one. There we go. Still need to unwind and process what I just did. Guys, that was my second IFR flight. It was so amazing. Again, thank you for all the tips, Stefan, Keith, Digital. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your presence here, guys. Also, OBR, obviously. Also, thank you for that flight plan save before I turned off my avionics. That was a time saver. Thank you very much. Tomorrow evening, perhaps I will fly again. I'm not quite sure, but I have some time, and again, I will do an IFR flight. I guess just a regular flight just to get into shape. So not too fancy, but just a little bit more of a drill and practice. I really need to get that management flow going. In any case, if you're curious, follow me on Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and you'll know when I fly. And you can jump aboard and help me and see me fail and learn. I'm so excited about this. So much stuff to still nail. As always, guys, happy flights in blue skies. Hoping to see you very soon. Bye.
Palm Springs Tower is currently Hotel Tango. Your mic is 10 miles north of airport at 3000. Information X-ray is not for a full stop. Landing 13 left, that's it.
Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Palm Springs Tower, squawk 6250.
6250.
Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Palm Springs altimeters 2985 radar contact, about 10 miles west of the Palm Springs VOS. Presently landing runway 31, you're requesting straight in for 13.
That's it.
Ever correction, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, next straight in runway 13 left, and good land. Landed 0905.
Clear the man runway 3 left. Hotel Tango, India Mike, next.
Palm Springs to plus 4658, slide 36 slam call, request clearance to Vegas S file.
Papa 4658, Palm Springs clearance. Good afternoon. Unable to give you S file, and I'll be forward to Stanley. Papa 4658 is cleared to the Las Vegas airport. VFI Cathedral 1 departure procedure to Palm Springs. Victor 370 to 29 Palms. Victor 538. Cresso. Join the Cresso 311. Maintain 7,000. Expect flight level 2405 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 126.7, squawk 6316.
4658
Pause 4658, readback is correct. Tango, do you mind taxi to ramp via echo and this frequency?
Taxiing to the ramp via echo, remaining on this frequency, Papa Delta Tango, Mike.
Ontario Tower, Cessna 237 Charlie Alpha, approximately 4 miles to the west, inbound to land.
Number 227, Charlie Alpha, roger, inner left, traffic. Left downwind, runway 26, left, report base.
Enter